I do not need to be famous. I just need to move the needle in women's football.
FIFA finally separated the women's rights from the men's rights. Hello, FIFA. There's a whole revenue stream you're missing over here. Wake up.
Players can ask for the amount that they want to make now. I think that is such a positive in the women's game.
Everyone, welcome to Soccer Podcast USA. This is where we talk about big items that are developing and growing the game here in the United States. And joining me today on this special hat edition, always can count on these ladies wearing a hat with me, so none of us have to worry about her hair,
Hot
is
edition.
the hat edition. Hottie hat edition.
The hottest.
The hottest of hot hats, Julie Foudy. No introduction needed, but introduction to be given. The captain of all captains that we're all willing to run through walls for. Lori Lindsey, as you all know, the voice of with MLS. Geez, name everything, Lori. What do you not touch? But now, right, player into punditry. We keep trying to convince her to go to coaching. She's a brilliant coach at the same time. But fun fact, I will always let her pick my food. Whenever I'm with her, she gets to pick out whatever I eat. She is amazing at it, and I will always trust her in that. But oh, really? Even from like ESPN days when we were doing the Women's Euros, we always let Lori and Danielle pick the meal.
Euros, we would go out. When we were in
when we go out, we go out. Yeah. Okay.
Not on a daily basis.
I was like, wait, I don't remember you like picking her lunch and stuff.
Ted,
oh, she's my new registered dietitian.
Right.
No, but ladies, thanks for jumping on. Right there, we take a look and we think about people who really know this beautiful game inside and out. Right, you guys are the first people that come to our mind when it comes to it. Right, not just having only played the game, but at the same time cover the game from what you guys have seen, the growth of the game in soccer. We're not just talking about women's soccer, although arguably we would make the statement that women's soccer is really the accelerator in the United States, but just everything about it. So welcome to the show. Can't wait to get into it with you guys.
Thank you. Congrats on the show. It's awesome.
Hey, I mean, taking a page out of your guys' book.
Right.
So let's do this. Yeah, your referee analyst has converted into this kind of a stuff, but yeah, I mean, really, ladies, I mean, we've seen of the growth of the game here from having played to now being the voices of the game. Right, we can get in and we'll get into the Netflix stuff, but I mean, just kind of a blanket statement from you guys, like, what have you seen with regard to the growth of the game in the U.S. to now? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's been extraordinary. I think, you know, the thing that you hear across like women's sport, not even just like women's soccer, right, is that like we've all known this. We've known the product that has been out there. We know that is immense talent on the court, on the fields. But specifically with women's soccer, we've seen that, right? We've seen the excitement, the talent around our women's national team, the growth of the NWSL, now that becoming much more stable, the different media partners that have come in on the television side. So, I mean, I think from Julie and I's standpoint, and not to speak for you, but I'm going to anyway, is that, like, listen, we've lived this. We've lived the fights, we've lived the ups and downs of, you know, what that's looked like around the women's game, and now it finally feels like, not that it's arrived, but it's finally getting the attention that we know that it deserves.
I would say too is, I mean, having thought that maybe 1999 and that World Cup would, you know, generate the attention needed and be the tipping point, and then we were like, wait, we had to wait 20 more freaking years for this, is both amazing, and it's taken a hell of a long time, that's for sure, right? Because I do think we've had this incredible base. We've had, as we know, a lot of interest on the women's side, and now we're seeing it with the whole ecosystem in terms of investors and sponsorships and attendance and numbers. I mean, that has all finally come around, and we can talk about why for days, but I'm just so thrilled that it's here. And women's soccer, I still feel, even though we've had such growth and we're seeing the excitement behind NWSL and our third iteration of a women's pro league here in the U.S., it's still like we're just scratching the surface. And that's what's most exciting is hopefully people are no longer surprised by the big numbers. They're no longer surprised when we fill out a stadium or sell out a stadium, or they're drawing huge numbers. So I'm thrilled that we're finally at a stage we're at, but I still am super excited because I do think there's a lot more we can be doing.
Oh, and you talk about that, but I mean, in soccer in general in the United States, right? You cover the men's national team, Julie. Lori, you cover Major League Soccer. How do you feel like that's growing as well?
Yeah, I think it's huge there as well. I mean, I think we're seeing beyond just the U.S. national teams on both the women's and men's side, you're seeing global explosion as well in terms of the interest in, of course, the EPL and the WSL on the women's side, which is the Women's Super League for the English professional league, obviously the French league for the women. But, when you walk into a park or a school, if you've dropped off kids lately or just in the vicinity of young kids, what do you see? You see US jerseys, you see Messi jerseys, you see global jerseys. So I think we're seeing now, with all the different streaming services and access to games, a real uptick in terms of just knowledge and with the fan base on both sides.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And specifically, since I call games and work with MLS and Apple TV, I mean, Messi coming over, right? There's just more eyeballs, there's more attention. I know that we're going to speak about the Netflix deal for the Women's World Cup in 2027 in a little bit, but one of the things that's been interesting as well for MLS is just how they continue to navigate, tackle being with Apple TV, right? Because MLS has essentially been a very local, or there's been a local demand, a local excitement, right? You've had your local TV deals, and then you've had either ESPN or Fox, and now with all of it going in-house with Apple, it's like, how do you navigate an entire league? How do you make that accessible with different times of games and stuff? And I think that has been interesting over the last couple of years, and how they're working out some of the kinks to make that more accessible, but also bring in more fan base on a weekly basis.
I mean, you guys both hit it with a digital stream, right? So here in the United States, as opposed to the rest of the world, we're not number one, right? NFL, NBA, NHL, soccer slowly growing into that, bigger kind of fan base. But now, when we were always fighting for those Saturday time slots against those big boys, right? Now we're going to digital, and Apple TV was probably it was our first foray into that. Now with the Netflix deal for the Women's World Cup, what were your kind of initial impressions? I know I was kind of caught off guard. I didn't even know they were in the bidding process. But yeah, what were your initial thoughts when that came out, and then kind of, where we go from it, moving forward?
I was pumped. I mean, I know I was like, holy, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the numbers that Netflix is drawing as they've, put their toe in the water into live sports. And we also know their global reach. So I had no idea either that they were in the mix. And I think, again, it shows you the growth of the game. It shows you, one, with the fact that finally, I mean, we could spend days on this as well, FIFA finally separated the women's rights from the men's rights. Hello, FIFA. There's a whole revenue stream you're missing over here. Wake up. So, I cannot believe it took us until the 27 Women's World Cup for that to happen. Clearly, they were locked in with Fox through 26. But it had all been bundled together, right? As we know. And so I know there is some criticism that, not everyone is a subscriber to Netflix, and it costs money, of course. But I think the upside, and this is the world we're now living in with streaming, right? And the digitized era we're in, is that the numbers could be enormous. And for events like this, I mean, I think it's harder to sustain that interest as you're running through a season or an extended period of time. But with it being a tournament in a set period of time, a finite period of time, and they can pump the heck out of it, because I don't know anyone who doesn't have Netflix as right, honestly, then I think it's going to do really well.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was my initial reaction. I think across the board, we're all on the same page in terms of we didn't have a clue that they were even like interested, right? But I was familiar with them starting to dip their toe into on Christmas, right? With the NFL, you have WWE. They had the Tyson Paul fight, right? And so obviously that gives them enough runway to lead up to like work those challenges out that they might find within live sports. But
Right.
that's exactly how I feel, Jules, is there is different challenges, I think, when you have a full season where you need to sustain, right? And keep people excited, regardless of what their team is, to get people to join in. But you have Netflix, again, right with you, Foudy, is like, who I don't know one person that doesn't have Netflix, right?
Yeah, and if they don't, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. And so
Who are you?
even the argument,
Yeah.
even exactly, or sharing their Netflix account.
Yeah,
Netflix,
yeah,
at least,
yes.
right?
They do catch you nowadays,
but
by the way.
anyway.
Just no.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, they're definitely like hammering down on that. But I think so. To me, when you have the argument of like, okay, it's behind a paywall. Again, I go back to I don't know anybody that doesn't have Netflix, but then also they have the ability to do documentaries prior, right? There's a lot of leeway that they can do to get people excited. And then also you have the ability to capture so many new fans who are just binge watching television, don't know about it. They can get excited to with the lead up, as I said, if they do documentaries, whatever that looks like, or you're just strolling and watching Netflix, and then you come across the Women's World Cup, right? And I think they have the ability to capture so many new viewers that way. And as Americans, we love tournaments, we love knockouts. So the
Yeah.
more that builds, the more that
Yeah.
is gonna, I think, garner new
Yeah,
viewers.
because like when you go to Netflix, which we often do to watch a series, the first thing that pops up when it goes dun dun is Monday Night Raw, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what Monday Night Raw is, but I'm kind of interested to go check out.
Have you
Monday
clicked
Night
it?
Raw.
Have you
So,
clicked it?
I
Did you
mean,
say yes?
I have not yet, actually, because when I found out it was WWE, I was like, no thanks.
I was a huge
I was
wrestling
kind of
fan
hoping
growing
you
up.
would say yes.
Okay. No, but it definitely piqued my curiosity. I was like, wait, what is this Monday Night
Wait,
Raw? And
Hold on,
then,
this is
but-
why we couldn't do the podcast to this day, is because Jules is actually trying out for Monday Night Raw.
and so I'm like, okay, it works, because you see it everywhere. It's popping up every time before first thing when you log in. So, and I do think a nationalistic event like a World Cup, and if the United States is in good form and successful, which we'll talk about, I do think there's going to be a lot of really, casual viewers who maybe aren't soccer fans who are like,
Yep.
interesting, I'm going to tune in. I think their numbers are going to be huge. I mean, look at their boxing bout, right? Who was that? Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano.
Yeah.
They say 74 million, the most ever women's live sporting event. And that was like buffering the whole time, I heard, right? Or having issues a lot of the time. So, and it still got 74 million.
So, I mean, think about it. How many of you guys watched Need for Speed or the Formula One racing? Like, I had zero desire to watch any of that stuff. And that Need for Speed got me acquainted to Formula One, and I'm actually willing to go to an event now.
Yeah, I know. It works. Isn't that amazing?
It works. Not
Maybe
like
I
my
am
Wi-Fi,
gonna. I am gonna click on Monday Night Raw.
Report back.
Yeah, let it. We will definitely follow up with you guys on that WWE stuff. But yeah, I think it gives that opportunity. That's kind of where we all consume our stuff now. I don't know about you guys, but I finally cut the cord. It's still as expensive as not cutting the cord, but at least I get what I really want. So I mean,
Right.
the game, right? You guys, thanks to you guys, you have made U.S. national team players, what we call blockbuster players, names around the world that we now see are being picked up by specifically England over there, right, with the Women's Super League. We see an exodus of the American players now leaving to go play in the Women's Super League. Just what are your initial thoughts with that?
Yeah, I would say, listen, this is the state of the women's game now. All right, there's more options. There's more options. There's more high level leagues. I think it's an exciting thing. I feel like it forces everybody to raise their level. And also, in particular with NWSL, right, this is the first year we don't have drafts. We have free agency across the board. Both parties have to agree on trades if you do get traded. So there's a lot of nuance to our league that's continuously shifting. And I think that's exciting. And I don't think of it as a negative thing. I think one of the things, in my opinion, that we saw in the 2023 World Cup is potentially the need for our players to be exposed to different levels, different types of defending, different types of attackers. And that has always been the draw, I think, for a lot of players to go play in the Champions League, to get that experience, whether it's in the WSL, whether it's in France, right, regardless of where you're going. And, players can ask for the amount that they want to make now. I think that is such a positive in the women's game. And I only think that forces everybody to level up. And, with Emma being our coach too, that gives her opportunity to watch these players even closely since she's based in England, or that's where she's from, and that's where she lives. So not only will she be able to watch them close up when she calls them into the national team, but also playing in Europe as well. So I see it as a positive and just an addition to the growth of where the women's game is.
I don't even just see it as a positive. I see it as a necessity. I think you need that diversity of style and people you're playing against. And I mean, one of the criticisms Emma made before she became the U.S. women's national team head coach was that it was all too similar. Everyone was playing in the NWSL, that they weren't being challenged by going overseas. And obviously, with the way the game has opened up globally, there is a market for people now to play overseas, as Lori was saying. You can make more money. And this is the gap which you're going to see them go, right? Because you've got 2.5 years before this next big world championship, big tournament in the World Cup. And so I think they're gonna jump right now and take a chance, as you're seeing some of them do. And good for them that they even have these opportunities. And Gurma, I mean, the first player to hit that $1 million mark,
and a defender.
How awesome is that? And deserved every cent of it. As we saw at the Olympics and what she's been able to do, and the human that she is, the great teammate that she is. So I can fully I appreciate these players wanting to take the chance now while they can strike it hot as well.
Yeah, I think the timing is a crucial piece to that, Foudy, because it's just, you do have to think about travel once it comes to the World Cup, right? Leading up, where do you want to be?
What's exhausting.
Exactly. And so we're going to see those ebbs and flows of players staying, going, coming, right? And I love what you said about necessity, because I agree completely. This is how you continue to drive the level, right? You continue to drive the excitement around the game, the fan base, but also it gives the players a diversity from what they've been seeing on a regular basis. That's only going to improve the game and improve the individual player.
Some of these things are really cool because when we started NWSL back up, right after the WPS and after WUSA, a lot of the attractions, we had to grow the game back here in the United States. And the need, and there was, whether stated or not stated, the pressure to play in the NWSL for the national team component side of it. Fascinating that now you go play in England.
Yeah, it was definitely stated with past coaches, which is why you saw a lot less people going overseas. They're like, you're going to stay here so we can be seen. And especially if you're on the bubble, I think there was a lot of pressure. If you were kind of hey, I'm kind of in, but I'm not sure I'm in, I better stay so that I can be seen. Because they weren't being seen, they felt like, and kind of discouraged to go abroad. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
No, I love it because now the irony is that you go to England so you can get seen more by our national team coach. It's so ironic.
Exactly.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Lori. Fun as always. Thank you for the special hat edition. But more importantly, next time, wine around the fire pit is going to happen. Talk to you guys soon.
Yes, please.
Bye.
We need a reunion. Bye. Thank you. Side note, since we've been on this podcast, I've got a message that says, "Hey, have you been taken by aliens?"
Who says this?
Just a random number that showed up in a message on my phone. Hey, have you been taken by aliens?